So this will be a continuation of my series, Old Rivals Never Die, and this will be volume 2, starring Udonis Haslem and Paul Pierce. And in this media landscape where the players have a certain medium to get their voices out, old rivalries and sentiments are going to be harder to squash. And that same competitive level that got many of these guys into the NBA is eventually going to spill out into the sports podcasting world. But when Udonis Haslem had his jersey retired, Paul Pierce jumped into the comments section and stated that his jersey retirement was given and not earned. But Udonis has some very interesting comments he made on Paul Pierce, where he stated, "You ain't like that." And later on in this segment, we'll go over the reasoning why Udonis knows for sure that he isn't like that. And that's due to a lot of the circumstances that played out in the stabbing that involved Pierce early on in his NBA career. But first, let's take a look at what Udonis had to say. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the individual person. It just had to do with the Celtics. And everybody know how I feel about the Celtics. Everybody know how I feel about Buddy them.
Redacted.
Yeah, everybody know how I feel about Buddy them.
Who Buddy and them?
I ain't gonna say Buddy name because somebody gonna get hurt because I'm gonna stop playing him. I'm gonna leave
He
him
called him
alone before
ugly.
somebody get hurt.
Oh, Paul Pierce.
Yeah,
I say his name.
Buddy and them.
I'm gonna leave Buddy.
Called him
Listen,
ugly.
no,
Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't be with all them Twitter fingers and all them games playing. Like I'm gonna leave that alone for somebody to get hurt.
I ain't gonna lie. That listen, I always say funny. I think funny. I play too much. That was funny though.
Which one?
When he said that, like, you still was giving it. Like, we all know you earned your retirement. Like,
Yeah.
everybody know that.
The pettiness.
But
was
the
so
pettiness that he said that was like, it was good.
I got real smoke.
Yeah,
And then
that
and did
was
you guys
funny.
did you see my response?
We did.
No,
Oh, we did.
I meant that from the bottom of my heart. I meant that from the bottom of my heart. I'm gonna spare you, cause I know you ain't like that. I'm gonna spare you.
But that
You
is
look at
funny
me in my
though.
mother eyes for to know I'm with it. The motherfucker think when you get money, like you gotta separate from certain. I'm still my daddy's child.
Oh yeah, I
I'm
love
my
that.
daddy's child. My daddy ain't raised no punk and I don't play no games.
That's a fact.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm with all that.
I love it.
What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disconnect from that situation because I don't play like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because one thing, what I said, I spoke on them as Celtics players. I never spoke on their accolades. I never spoke on what they accomplished. I always give them credit for that.
Yep.
Now you on some other. I ain't playing that game.
Nah, it ain't basketball.
I'm gonna leave that alone before I hurt you. And I mean that.
Nah,
So
respect.
put my glasses
Put
back
them
on.
glasses
we
back
gonna
on.
move
Put them glasses back on.
Hey, put the Trinity back up, OG.
Put my glass back on. 'Cause
Your Haslem knows for a fact that Paul Pierce ain't like that. And there's a very shrewd difference between being a tough NBA player, just kind of being that enforcer on the court, that tough guy, versus being a gangster. It's two different things. And guys like Paul Pierce have always tried to tread the line in between both worlds. Very similar to Ja Morant. But unlike Ja, Paul Pierce very early on in his career had found himself in a situation where he ran into some real life gangsters. And they ended up not only beating him up, but stabbing him over 11 times. But former media mogul Benzeno has spoke on this, as he was very active on the scene in Boston, and he threw a party one night downtown when Paul Pierce first got drafted, in which at the time he was creating an avenue for different neighborhoods to connect and find a way to come together. And Paul Pierce has showed up to this event trying to play the tough guy on TV, while at the same time being in the midst of the real gangsters who have no second thoughts about perhaps throwing their life away and doing a prison bid. Sometimes players like Paul Pierce and Ja Morant mistake the tough guy act on the court for being a gangster on TV. And there's no such thing as that. There are no gangsters on TV. You're an NBA guy. You're being watched. Everyone knows what moves you're making. The league in itself already have private investigators seeing everything that you're doing. But when you run into them real gangsters, the situation can definitely change. You'll see certain parts of the story unfold that Paul Pierce was really never about that life, due to the manner in which he chose to handle the stabbing after the whole incident occurred.
It worked, man, you know. And then, so one night we gave an album release party. All the wise guys are coming. It's downtown too, you know, so it kind of was like, whoa, this is pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? Because that was rare. So we're downtown, so I guess the Celtics had came that night. Now, you know, I knew Paul from Kansas because I'm a big Celtics fan, and we was drafting him #1. He was the shit coming out of college. So it's like, oh shit, we're gonna pair him up with Antoine Walker. We getting ready to like make some noise again. We had sucked for so long. Everybody was happy that Paul was coming. I think we was in last fucking place the year before. So that night, something had happened, me and my man Hirsch, something had happened, because we're in the club, and let's say me and Hirsch are over here by the pool table, and they over there by where the music's at, the DJ. You know, you notice that the Celtics in it, because everybody, these niggas is tall as you know what I'm saying? I remember Tony Battie was in there. When Paul got there, right, I couldn't recognize him. Like he was in the club, I didn't even know. It's not like the club was super big, but I think it had 2 floors. So I didn't recognize if he was in there. Because when you see a nigga on TV and basketball, the first time you seeing him in a dark nightclub, you're not even gonna recognize him really. Because I didn't. A fight breaks out, niggas is over there beefing. That's a regular thing in Boston. Niggas fight. That happens all the time in clubs. That's why we never had no clubs. It was guaranteed to be fights. I mean, bloody fucked up fights, dying fights, all kind of shit. Shootouts, stabbings. Anyways, niggas is giving this one dude the business. Nobody else jumped in with. That's one thing I noticed. No other Celtics went over there to help Paul that night.
Now that's interesting in itself. Once again, there are no gangsters on TV. Do not confuse a tough act on the court for being gangster. Those are 2 different things. The league throughout its history had its fair share of tough guys, but most of these players never ever claimed to be a gangster. As many of the tough guys tend to come from backgrounds in which they really know who the gangsters really are. And 9 out of 10 times, how hard they worked to get into the league, they was trying to take their families away from being around that lifestyle. But once again, Paul Pierce, trying to act tough, got involved with the real wolves, and all his teammates just stood there watching. None of them got involved.
There was a few of them in there. Nobody went over there to help him. Now, me and Hirsch, my man, Tony Hirsch, we're standing to the side watching everything. And we seeing, the whole situation. And we're just like, damn, look at this shit. If I'd known that was Paul, I would have went over there. Because I seen niggas, it was, he was the only one. But it happened so regularly. But if I knew it was Paul Pierce, the #1 draft pick of the Celtics, I would have went over there and stopped that. When Paul was laid out, the lights came on, everybody's rushing to get the fuck out of there. I'm running downstairs to my car. I'm walking fast in the parking lot. And I think Tony Battie and his brother was like, yeah, it was Made Man Benzeno. He's right next to me saying my name. So I jump in the whip. Come to find out, people are talking. Paul was getting real aggressive with, one of the wise guy's girls. And he told him to chill. And I guess Paul didn't chill. And he was being real aggressive with his girl. The rest is history. Like trying to holler at her. Trying to just, what I'm saying? After somebody like, yo, that's my girl or whatever. And then, words fly. It happens so much. Everybody by me talking this can see this. This happens all the time. You have your girl with you, some nigga getting agree, yo, homie, she's with me. You're supposed to only take one time. The rule is you're supposed to take one time. And if you didn't know, that's your time to chill. If you still saying something after that, then.
Yeah, Paul Pierce inviting all the smoke. He probably didn't think they was going to do nothing because they were downtown, quote unquote. But little did Paul know, most of these guys, they were not accustomed to being downtown, so they didn't care. Regardless, it was their event, so they treated the venue no different than them being in their hoods.
Niggas have died from that shit. Like graveyards, jails are full of niggas over shit like that. So this ain't nothing new.
Facts. And the NBA in its history has lost a #1 draft pick. I believe Benji out of Chicago in the 80s. He was projected to be the #1 draft pick, and he got into an argument with his girl, and some other guy was trying to defend her, and he ended up shooting Benji. So the NBA in its history has had a #1 draft pick lose his life over a woman. So like Benzeno said, that is something that a lot of men, particularly from certain neighborhoods, have lost their life over. And there's people serving time for killing over a woman, especially in the hood. So that is nothing new. And the NBA in its history has experienced this.
I ended up rushing back to New York because I knew this shit was getting ready to hit the fan. You know, this was all up, every news, every world news. I mean, this was crazy, you know, because he got stabbed up pretty bad. Now, my lawyer said that they went in there, the gang task force, with the picture book, and they Paul was on his bed. He just lived, like an inch away from his lung, heart, something, or his lung, something. But he got fucked up.
He got fucked up. But right here, you're about to see how much of a civilian Paul Pierce really is, because he does something right here that gangsters don't normally do. Once again, the tough guy act on the court and being a gangster is two different things.
And they kept pointing at my picture, and they wanted him to say it was me. They kept telling him to do it. Kept telling him. In his bed. He didn't pick me, but he picked. Remember I told you my man next to me? The whole time when all this happened? Picked him. He was nowhere near when that shit was going on. We're watching, looking at each other, shaking our head like, look at this shit. Because again, it's supposed to be the Wise Guys record release party. We're watching shit go down.
So in reality, if Paul Pierce was about that life, he would have never pointed anyone out. He just would have said, I don't know. I never seen these people before. That's what the quote unquote gangsters do, or people about that street life. That's the code. They don't talk to police. They don't tell them nothing. But you can't play tough guy or just a NBA gangster, and then when it suits you, you play civilian. Once again, the fact that he pointed anyone out in the book shows you right there he's not about that life, and that's why Udonis Haslem know for a fact that he's not about that life.
Because again, it's supposed to be the Wise Guys record release party. We're watching shit go down. So I had to get a lawyer. So we had to come back. You know, we got stopped at the airport, put in cuffs. Hearst ended up getting locked up. We had to bail him out. I had to pay for a lawyer. Took it to trial. God willing. Thank God he didn't get locked up. They found him not guilty. But Roscoe and Trev, Roscoe got it like 20 years and Trev got it a bunch of time. And, you know, Paul Pierce picked him out. You know, he said those are the ones who stabbed and punched him.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So he told and everything.
He told. Now, my thing is this, right? You know.
Now, even the interviewer is shocked that he told. Once again, guys that are about that life, them telling is not even an option.
I've told the story before without saying that Paul told, because I want to, but my guys did years behind that shit. When I see Paul do the Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes interview, I thought he was real kind of, I thought he was too loose with it, with his answers. You know, this guy's still sitting in jail for that shit right now. And, you know, for you to be, he should have manned up to his actions, because not only that's telling the truth, and that's some real nigga shit, but also you're gonna help these other young guys out there who are in different cities on how they act and their behavior. You gotta let them know, don't do the shit that I did. Be aggressive in some other city's girl with a real nigga's chick. Like, don't be he needs to tell that, because he almost died from that, and my guys got a lot of time from that.
And guys like Ja Morant could learn from that. Don't be playing gangster and trying to portray a life that you know nothing about, nor you're willing to risk and be about.
So to me, if he's the truth, then he needs to tell the truth on what happened that night.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So he was trying to holler at another dude chick, and that's why he got stabbed. Yeah. That
pretty much was why. I mean, nobody just, again, it was a place where it was a night of celebration, so niggas wasn't on that shit. Paul just got too aggressive. You know, Paul's from Inglewood. I've heard stories about Paul. Now, I've met Paul a couple of times. Not like he was a bad guy or whatever, but, you know, these guys, those are my guys, and I love them guys. And it was unfortunate. It was fucked up.
Now, one of the stories about Paul Pierce back in the day from Inglewood, he was a highly coveted basketball player. And he was a shit-talking fat kid. All the players of his era, when they were coming up and they were highly ranked in the amateur circuit, they all already knew about Paul Pierce, the pudgy, trash-talking motherfucker from Inglewood. So that same energy that Paul Pierce had on the court that got him into the league, you got to know when to turn that off. And it's looking like the same thing is sort of applying to Ja Morant in the previous mistakes he made in the past 2 seasons, just not knowing when to turn off the persona. Because when you run into the real wolves, just like how Paul Pierce experienced, none of your teammates is going to be there to help you. you're going to be participating in the repercussions of the gangster life all by yourself. So it is what it is, and now you see why Udonis Haslem knows for a fact that Paul Pierce is not about that life.